What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg, and we just got done watching a dominating San Antonio Spurs win over the Detroit Pistons, 121-106. This game was in San Antonio, and I was super excited for this game because obviously we have the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference versus the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. The Spurs, which have been the best team in the NBA since December, have won 13 of their last 14 games. They're coming off a month where they did not lose a game. Victor Wembanyama won Player of the Month. He won Defensive Player of the Month. Their coach won. Mitch Johnson won Coach of the Month, and Dylan Harper won Rookie of the Month. This Spurs team is so impressive to watch play. And in an NBA that spends a lot of their time in the media talking about Zion Williamson's eating habits and whether Michael Jordan would average a 40-point triple-double in modern basketball, I wish that people would flip on the TV and watch the elite play that we have out of Victor Wembanyama and this San Antonio Spurs team. They are going to have the ability to do something that we've really never seen by a young player of this caliber in Wemby. We watch players like Michael Jordan and LeBron James really struggle to get their basketball teams up to championship caliber. Well, this Spurs team is championship caliber right now, and they are young and going to be competitive for a long time. So if Wemby's able to help lead his team over the hump this year, he's going to instantly put himself in conversations that I can't wait to be a part of. I am someone who personally believes that it takes time to start to give people recognition when it comes to all-time rankings or best player in the NBA until they've accomplished MVPs or championships or high-level playoff successes. Except when it comes to the case of this anomaly, Victor Wembanyama. So many people are so quick to coronate Anthony Edwards or some of these other young players in the NBA as the best player in the NBA. We heard Rich Paul do it the other day and call Anthony Edwards the best player in the NBA. And like I said, I would like to see a player win a championship or win an MVP or prove that they're that guy. Well, when I watch Victor Wembanyama, I am certain that he is that guy. He affects this game in so many different ways. And he's playing against the Pistons team that's number 2 in the NBA in defense. And they can't do anything with him. He creates this massive mismatch. Tonight he finished the game with 38 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 blocks. DeAaron Fox was also a monster. He had 29 points. Stephon had 11 points and 12 assists. And who I just said won Rookie of the Month, and Dylan Harper, is coming off the bench because this team has so much depth. The way that they've built this roster is so impressive, and it's why I believe that the Spurs are the best team in the NBA. They led this game from start to finish. They were up 38-23 after the first quarter. They had 12 points from Wemby and 16 from DeAaron Fox. Both guys were playing out of their mind off the rip. At halftime, they were up 71-55. Wemby had 24 and Fox had 22, so they kept it up in that second quarter. In the third quarter, the Pistons tried to make a little bit of a run, and the Spurs shut the door in the fourth quarter. This Spurs team tonight dominated this game, like I said, from start to finish, but they also led in every statistical category. They shot better from the field. They had more rebounds. They had more assists, steals, blocks, less turnovers, more points in the paint, and more fast break points. They won points in the paint 52-36. And why is that so important to this conversation? Because when you're looking at the teams that the Spurs are going to have to beat in the playoffs, the way that they're able to defend the paint with this, what everyone calls him, this alien Victor Wembanyama, it will match up really well against teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, like the Detroit Pistons, like the Denver Nuggets, teams that are not high-volume three-point shooting teams. The Nuggets right now are 12th in the NBA in three-pointers. The Thunder are 13th in the NBA in three-pointers. So when you get to the playoffs, and it's why the Pistons have struggled in both of these games against the Spurs. They're not a great three-point shooting team. They're mid to below average when it comes to three-point shooting. If they're not able to get into the paint and play their game, it takes them completely out of their element, and they start forcing shots that they wouldn't otherwise take. So when we get to the playoffs, and we've seen the Spurs have incredible success against the Thunder so far this season, and incredible success against those other top teams in the NBA. Wemby defends the paint. He's number one in the NBA in field goal percentage at the rim, 40.9%. So players are obviously, one, they're scared to death to go up against him. They get blocked all the time. But even that number doesn't fully do justice, the amount of players that just go to the paint and turn around and run out because they see this guy in the paint. And then coming off the bench, they have Luke Cornett, who's another good rim protector. So at all times, this Spurs team is going to be able to totally lock down the interior and force the ball to the perimeter and see if you can shoot at a high enough percentage to beat this team. But I don't think that anyone's going to be able to do so. When I watch basketball, I think that the San Antonio Spurs are by far the best team in the NBA right now. Obviously, that's a little bit of a controversial take because we know that the Thunder won the championship last year, and they've obviously had a very good year. They're 3 games ahead of the, I think maybe 2.5 after tonight, games ahead of the Spurs in the standings. But when I watch the game of basketball from December on, you cannot convince me that the Thunder are a better basketball team than the Spurs. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in the playoffs, but a lot of teams have struggled to repeat. We thought the Celtics were going to be on this dynastic run after they won their championship. The Nuggets with Nikola Jokic. We thought the Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo. We thought all these different rosters were going to go on massive runs, but they won their one title and then they ran into a buzzsaw. This year, I believe that buzzsaw is the San Antonio Spurs. And what I love so much about modern basketball is that the way that the Spurs dominate the game is so different than the way that other teams dominate the game of basketball. The Celtics love to play the game from the perimeter. They shoot a ton of three-pointers, and that's primarily how they're going to beat you because they have a bunch of good three-point shooters on the court at all times. In the Western Conference, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander obviously plays a ton from the mid-range. They're very physical on defense. Refs don't call a lot of fouls on the Thunder. I don't want to get into that too much because it kind of has been frustrating me lately. But the Spurs have this guy in Wemby who can really dominate the game in all facets. He shoots the 3 ball, very well for his size. He was 4 of 10 tonight, 10 of 11 from the free throw line, 12 of 24 from the field overall. He's able to dunk the basketball. No one can stop him in there. He can grab offensive boards. He's good at passing the basketball when he does that. And they have all these great perimeter players. DeAaron Fox, we forget how good this guy is. He is so fast and so electric on the court. And he got this game off to an incredible start. And because of his speed and his athleticism, it makes it to where defensively, the Spurs team on the perimeter makes it very difficult on opposing point guards. Cade Cunningham has struggled mightily in both games against the Spurs. We saw what they did to the Thunder. And all of that will have great value when it comes to be playoff time. And it seems like they're really, really well coached so far. Mitch Johnson has not it doesn't feel like they forced the ball into Wemby's hand too much. Obviously, down the stretch and in big moments, you want the ball in your star players' hands. But right now, it feels like they play within the system. And I think that has a ton of value. We saw as kind of what the Warriors did with Steph Curry for a long time. You can win a title, in an individual year, maybe with a ball-dominant player. But a lot of our best teams have had a system of basketball. That Celtics team a few years ago, there's a lot of argument. Was Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum the better player? I think it's Tatum. But then when you look at other teams, obviously, like I said, those Warriors teams, what team am I thinking of? The Nuggets. Obviously, they have Jokic and Murray and a bunch of good players, but they have Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., all these other guys making contributions. So the modern NBA is all about the quality of your team and not just the quality of your top couple players. And that's why I think this Spurs team has a real chance to do something special this season, because Julian Champagnie tonight had 16 points, 7 rebounds. Wemby, 38 and 16. De'Aaron Fox, 29. Castle, 11. Devin Vassell, who's played very good as of late, had 8 tonight. Keldon Johnson had 8. Carter Bryant came in, had 6 rebounds, defends on the other end of the court. Luke Cornett didn't have to play a whole lot because Wemby played high minutes, but he can play at a high level. And Dylan Harper, we know what he represents, and if he was on a team where he was the starting point guard, his averages would probably be through the roof. So, all in all, I can't wait to watch the Spurs team in the playoffs. They're going to represent a unique challenge for every other team that the opposing team may not know how to deal with. And if the Spurs are able to get to that 1 seed in the Western Conference, I think that'll be so massive. Because when you're looking at the way that I think it'll shape out, that 3 seed is going to be either the Timberwolves or the Nuggets. But whoever that is will probably be hot going into the playoffs. And I would much rather play whatever of those teams is cold, being the 4 seed in the second round. And then you probably will face the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. So, all in all, make sure you continue to watch out for the Spurs team. Don't let the way that the media is talking about basketball right now make you distract you from the great product that there still is on the NBA court, and the fact that we may have a guy in Wemby that is starting a very real GOAT conversation if he's able to lead his team to an NBA championship this season, and he's still in the running for MVP. So make sure you continue to tune in to the NBA and see what's going on. We're going to have a playoffs with so much parity, and I really can't wait to watch it. When you look at the Eastern Conference, the Pistons have had a rough go of it lately. They've had a tough schedule, but I think that you have started to see some of the flaws in their game. In particular, their ability to shoot that 3 ball, I think, is going to hurt them greatly. And they rely so much on Cade Cunningham to create everything at all times, it feels like. And that's not always a recipe for long-term success when you're talking about a playoff run. So I would not be shocked if these two teams met in the NBA Finals, but I absolutely think the Spurs are coming out of the Western Conference. Right now, my pick is going to be the Spurs and probably the Cavaliers. Depends a little bit on how Tatum comes back for the Celtics, but I think the Cavs are just better than the Pistons, and the Knicks, I just can't buy into the Knicks. So I think the Spurs are going to win the NBA championship this year, and I can't wait to watch and see how it plays out. Make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.